Hey guys, Tuesday morning, on my way to work, making a detour first to go pick up some donated computers. So I'm actually early this morning, or was trying to be, and there was a big wreck and a long line, so luckily I'm past all that. Today I'm going to tell you guys a story. Never really thought about this, it just kind of popped into my head earlier because I was thinking about when I used to be a photographer and I was getting into doing like event videos and stuff. I worked at a camera shop, and so we had cameras, and so I would rent them and then go do events for people. So I got a job at this camera store, and I think I was just out of high school. Might have been 19 or so. And so the first day when I'm interviewing and everything, the guy was like, yeah, I want to hire you because you're a photographer and you know cameras and how to do developing and making your own pictures and all that, because of course back then we didn't have anything digital. You had to do everything by hand. You literally had to roll the film on these metal rolls and develop them, and it's a lot of work. So anyway, I had met a woman that worked there, debris in the road, and we went out a couple of times, and then we started dating. And there was another woman that we worked with that she had a weird situation. She was married to someone like way older than her. I would say she was probably 30, and I think her husband was in his 70s. And he was either gone on business or sick. Because I think one time she told me that he was nearly 70 when I first started working there. So anyway, my girlfriend and I kept our relationship quiet at work. And she was much older than I was too. She was 7 years older than I was. So something weird about that time in my life when all these older women, I guess they were, who knows, they were wanting younger guys back then. So I was dating my girlfriend, and then this woman kept asking me to come over. She had some kind of deck lighting that she needed help to install, and she says my husband's never around to do it, and I don't think he knows how, and I'm sure you could help me, and blah 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 blah. And my girlfriend was like, yeah, I guess that's fine, just go over there and help her tonight. And I was like, okay. And then I was hanging something up, a sign or something in the store, and then when I was coming off the ladder, I have this bad habit of skipping the last rung of a ladder. I don't know what the deal is. It's something superstitious in my subconscious. I don't know. And I do it all the time. And so I skipped that last step, and she thought that I was falling. This is the woman who I was going to go help with the deck lights. And she proceeds to keep me from falling by putting her hands on my ass. And my girlfriend sees this and is mad. So she decides that I'm not going over there. And then one woman was like, well, I also need help with doing some photography, and he knows photography. And she was like, I needed a male model, a clothed model, not unclothed. This is what she's telling my girlfriend. Because I think this woman's figured out that that my girlfriend and I were together. And my girlfriend was like, well, if you need a model, I'll come over and model for you, and I know a little bit about cameras, I can help you out. So what was funny is my girlfriend ends up going over there instead of me, and this woman gets drunk and hits on her instead of what would have been me. So I laughed about that because I was like, well, it's like that's what you get for for not letting me go over there. But anyway, and back then I was naive. I had no idea why she wanted me to go over there. So anyway, we had another woman that came in, and she worked for a merchandising company that dealt with candy. I won't get into the name of the companies or anything like that. So she would come in because they did these big displays in the stores, like you see what they do with the soda boxes where they'll make pictures or whatever, and they do these big displays. Well, she did that with candy. So she would come in, and we had these machines where you could take a picture and scan it, or take the negative and it would create a whatever size, like 8x10, or I don't remember. We had like big huge pictures too. So anyway, I would help her anytime she came in, and she'd bring me candy, and my girlfriend didn't like it because this woman was, you know, paying attention to me. And so she would come in like all the time and bring me candy and talk to me. And what was weird is she had the same situation. She had a husband that was about 25 years older than she was. And so she, I guess, was in that same situation where she was young and he was older, and she wasn't getting what she wanted out of their relationship. But anyway, she had always asked if I wanted to go out, and I was like, no, I got a girlfriend, blah blah blah. So after I had left that job and then ended up breaking up with the girlfriend, which is a whole nother story, I was delivering pizzas, and that's where I met my my best friend and the guy I was roommates with for years. And one day I was going to deliver pizzas, and it was right down the street from where I lived. It was probably 5 or 6 houses down. And I go to the door, and it's this woman, the one that worked for the candy company. And I was like, no way. I was like, you live here now? And she goes, yeah, we just bought this house and moved in. And what struck me as strange instantly is that her and her husband made really good money and drove really nice cars, and they moved into the worst neighborhood in Arlington. Like literally the worst neighborhood. I can tell you, I used to live off of, if you are ever in Arlington, there's a street called Susan Drive, and it runs straight into what used to be Forum 303 Mall, and the other end ends before it gets to Abrams. That's the street I used to live on. That is like one of the worst neighborhoods. Even when I was a kid, it was bad. So she moves into this horrible neighborhood. She still worked for M&M Mars, and I want to say he worked for like one of the military contractors, maybe Lockheed Martin or something. So I was like, that's really weird. And I was like, are you still working for this candy company? And she goes, yeah, I'm still doing merchandising. I was like, oh, that's cool. So it got to be a situation when her husband wasn't home. She would literally order pizza and request for me to come over and deliver it, which was weird because I live right down the street. And so one day I asked her, I was like, why would y'all move into this crappy neighborhood? And she goes, well, I just like the house. And I was like, it just doesn't make any sense. Y'all could have bought a much nicer house in a much nicer neighborhood. I said, this neighborhood's got no upswing to it. It's going downhill. It had been for years. And she was like, well, she goes, my husband's never home. She goes, I have better opportunities in this neighborhood. And I said, better opportunities for what? And that's when she decided to disrobe, and I was like, oh, okay. So even though I was young and, needless to say, on edge all the time, I left. Because that's one thing, even though later on I made mistakes, that's one thing I didn't want to do starting out, is to get involved with someone who was married. And I told her straight up. I was like, because I ended up seeing her again after I left that night, and I was like, I can't get involved with you my husband's never here. He travels all the time. I was like, there's just no way. It ain't gonna happen. It's like, if y'all split up or something and you want to pursue something, then let's talk about it, but not while you're together. And she said, okay, I understand. And then it must not have been maybe a month and a half after that, they were gone. They sold the house and moved out. So I always thought, I didn't want to be like all bragging and like, yeah, she just moved there for me. But that's what it seemed like. It's this weird woman who was desperately lonely moved into my neighborhood to live closer to me. So I ended up seeing her maybe 2 or 3 years after that, and I was in a relationship. And I said, hey, how's everything going? She said, good. And I said, you still married? And she said, no, we got a divorce like right after we sold that house. And I was like, well, why didn't you come and talk to me? I said, you know, I said, I was interested in you at the time. And so, you know, we might have been together, but I didn't know you got divorced. And she said, well, she said, I didn't want to be with anybody else. I just wanted to get divorced. She goes, I didn't want to cheat on him, but she said it just kind of happened several times. And she said, I just didn't want to deal with it, and I didn't want to drag you into all that. But she was really nice. And then years after that, when I was living in Arlington, right before I moved back to Dallas, me and my roommate had gotten separate places because I was working at the time in Arlington, and I'd just gotten a job in Addison. And so we hadn't decided to move to get an apartment together again. And I saw her, and she had like 3 kids and a really nice husband, so things worked out for her, and it was really cool. But I always thought that was strange that this random woman who barely knew me moved into my neighborhood. And like, you can ask my friend, I'm not kidding, she would order pizza every day. And I know she wasn't eating it because she was really, really fit. So I doubt very seriously she was eating that pizza. So I was just thought it was really weird. But I got some other really weird pizza delivery stories. Actually, I got a bunch of them, and I'll start sharing those with you guys. Anyway, I'm nearly to my destination to go pick up these computers. So you guys have a great day. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, get your friends to subscribe. Subscribers mean a lot to us in YouTube. It means that what we're doing is valued in the same way with the thumbs up. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.